Welcome in to the revamped, revitalized week 3 of Dropping Dimes. I am your host, Matt Nost. I'm joined by longtime friend, fellow diehard NBA fan, guy that I've been to Clippers games, summer league with, who I love talking basketball with, and is actually it killed our friendship for about 2 to 3 weeks 8 years ago over a basketball argument. One of my favorite people in the world, Mr. Sam Tripoli. How are you, buddy?
Hey, brother, I just got to say that I didn't know you could do what you just did on StreamYard. I don't even know how you did that.
I can walk you through it afterwards.
That's pretty great, dude. Congratulations on mastering. StreamYard's great. I love it. Matt, how are you? It's good to be on your show again.
It's good. Do you want to talk a little StreamYard before we get in?
I just want to do a podcast dedicated only to StreamYard.
Not a problem. I think that exists, but they'd appreciate the plugs.
Yeah, for sure.
How you been? How are the kids?
Children are wonderful. They're playing in their jumperoos right now. You got to burn off a little of that energy before they go to get their sleep on.
Is that the little the huggy sling thing that goes around their, basically the diaper section, and they can kind of bounce up and down?
Yeah, there's ones that you do kind of in the doorway, and then there's ones that are just it's like one of those jumping things that they get at kids' parties.
Yeah.
But it's for little. They're great. They burn it. They love it, man. They jump up and down. They get excited. Burn that energy, dude.
Never in a million years did I think I'd be having this conversation with you.
Dude, I didn't either, but I love it, man. I love having kids. It's really made my life so much simpler. Even though there's a lot more work, it's a very simple thing. I don't care anymore. I don't have to be out. I work out only because I want to live longer, not because I need to look good, and it really is just made life so much simpler for me.
Yeah, that's good, man. I'm glad that fatherhood is treating you well. That's a good thing.
They're Dodger girls and they're Clipper girls, homeboy. Raiderettes as well.
I was about to say, you're not going to have them be Rams or soon to be departing Los Angeles Charger fans.
Dude, really? Are they leaving?
There's no way they stay. Why in the world would they stay? They're fifth team. They're the 5th team in this city.
Oh no, dude. USC Trojans.
Yeah, sure. 6th.
Yeah, 7th, 8th. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Well, that's an example of Suits just going, we're going to do what we want, and you're going to come buy the product. And everyone's like, no. What they should have done is brought the Raiders, and I know everybody hates the idea, brought the Raiders to L.A., sent the Chargers to San Diego. That would have gotten all the Raider fans excited, and then everybody who hated the Raiders would be instantly become Ram fans, and you'd pick a team.
Yeah, it creates sides as opposed to the indifference of the Chargers.
To really both. I mean, the Rams have a chance, but still, nobody cares. It's the Suits, man. They're just crazy.
Well, I mean, when you don't have NFL in this town for decades, I don't know what you anticipated. Just some huge. I mean, they made that Super Bowl run, but at the same time, it's like you need to have consistent winning in order to build a fan base in this town. You need to be a winner.
They need their version of Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin brought the Clippers to, okay, this is something exciting. We can get behind it. It's not close to as big as the Lakers, but it is an actual viable team. So that's what one of these guys need. They need probably the close to that. It would be like a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
Which, I mean, they don't have in the slightest, so they're going to be relegated. At least the Clippers are now, I would say, their 3rd team in the city. Lakers, Dodgers, and Clippers. Although the Kings fans might, have a
maybe.
problem.
I mean, I think the Dodgers are the biggest. I think the Lakers just are more visible. But I think because there's a lot of Laker fans, but there's also a lot of anti-Laker fans. I think there's a lot of Dodger fans. Like, it's the one team everybody loves, unless you just hate, baseball or hate the city. But everybody loves the Dodgers here.
All right. I would still say
that
Lakers
was
are
basketball talk.
Yeah, we can jump right in. You guys are, as Clipper fan, you guys are 2-2 right now.
Yep.
That opening loss to the Lakers, you weren't at your full complement, and you still only lost by 2 points. It was a close game. That one against the Suns, you couldn't make a 3-point bucket, and that was ultimately, if you look at the stats, the difference in the game. Outside of that, you guys have been pretty solid. How do you like your chances thus far?
Well, both of those losses came down to pretty much the last shot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Booker, the Suns finally are the team that I came on your podcast and said I thought they were going to make some serious moves in the lineup and be really good. They, when Delonte Ayton, or whatever his name, DeAndre Ayton went down, that really hurt that team, like really hurt. And it took a long time for them to get back their mojo, but I think they are that team now. I don't know if they make the playoffs. I think Portland's probably going to make it over the injuries of the Grizzlies, but the Clippers, I feel good. Here's my biggest problem with Doc Rivers is Doc gets this real excitement for somebody in the starting lineup, and he doesn't ever want to take it out. Before that was JJ Redick, and now it's Patrick Beverley. I love Patrick Beverley.
Okay.
What I get nervous about is Patrick Beverley starts thinking he's on fire and starts shooting a little bit more than he should be.
Well, who do you want at the point guard? Do you want Reggie Jackson? Do
love Reggie Jackson on this team in that role. He's perfect as one of your go-to guys. I don't think that's his guy.
Yeah, he's not.
As your fourth or fifth dude on the floor, probably fourth, depending on the lineup. I like him, dude. I think he's great. I wish they could find a way to keep him.
But you have the offensive punch, so why not have a defensive specialist like Beverly out there who can still handle the ball? I think the trade-off, I don't know, I still like Beverly as a starter as opposed to Reggie, but I think it's also colored by the perception of I watched Reggie do nothing in Detroit and get a full head leaving OKC thinking he should be running a team, and then we just watched evidence of you really shouldn't be running a team. At least shouldn't be the alpha.
But he got paid, so in that he made a smart move. He got his money, right?
Yeah.
So he probably got more than he ever should have, which we would agree is a smart move. Here's the problem with Patrick Beverley. I keep hearing, and I love the Clippers. I keep hearing that we these defensive stoppers, when we lose, it's always from a 3-point barrage of just them hitting outside shots, and we can't stop it. So I love Patrick Beverley. He's one of my favorite Clippers ever. I'm not saying he shouldn't be on the team. I love him on the team. I just don't want him in a position where he starts shooting a lot because he thinks he's got it. I mean, I've watched it happen. It's like, just get the ball to the monsters, play defense, piss the other guys off, and let those guys shoot. And that's kind of my thing. I love this team. I love Joakim Noah. I think he really is, for what we need him for, which is 10 minutes a game.
Yes.
He is perfect. Zubac is great. We don't even have heart.
Joakim and Pat Bev on one team. That is, if you're not a fan of the Clippers, you're going to hate them when those two are out there. I mean, trust me, as a Bulls fan, I couldn't stand Noah until we drafted him. And then I understood why Florida fans loved him and other teams hate him. He's like, oh, he's the best. He is the best.
Perfect. I mean, like Zubac is finally starting to come into the player that they thought he was going to be, 16-10, mostly because what's his name?
Montrezl Harrell's been out. I mean, he's coming back now. After the funeral for his grandma, and he's got to sit in quarantine, but he should be back by the time the playoffs actually start. And you guys only need a couple more wins, and you lock up second place. If Denver loses 1 or 2 games, you guys get 2 more wins. You're good to go at second.
But here's the thing. I mean, the matchups, I guess, are really what matter. In the second, you get who would you get? Utah.
You get Dallas right now. Dallas is in at 7. Now, if they can both up and Utah drop, it is. I would much rather have Utah or I don't know, OKC right now. There's all kinds of talk.
That's a scary lineup too, dude.
Chris Paul is so loud and verbal that it's getting other teams, it's in their heads because there's no crowd noise to drown him out. So he's dictating the atmosphere on the court. And you're like, maybe this is the year for Chris Paul.
I mean, I just don't think they have enough firepower, but they're a good team. They're a good team. That guy would be perfect on a couple teams if he was just gotten to the right place. Utah, he'd be great on Utah. I just don't know if he stays in OKC because Kid Gorgeous, it's just so good, dude. I love.
But who's taking his contract? It's still an obscene amount of money at a 35 for a 35-year-old ish. I think he's roughly around that age. So I don't know. I think he could be gone. He could stay another season. I guess it just depends on what kind of offer OKC gets.
But I like us. I think Kawhi Leonard is. I have faith in him. I have faith in Paul George. The Morris Sr. hasn't really scored like he was in New York because nobody came to play versus them. But I like his attitude. He's nasty, and that's what I like. So I feel really good about it. I think it's going to be very hard for someone to beat us in 7 games. I think it's going to be really hard.
Okay, well, right now you'd have Dallas in round 1, and then hypothetically either Houston or Utah in round 2. That's actually, I'm sorry, it'd be Denver or OKC in round 2.
I mean, dude, who does not get enough credit for what a great drafter? He's the guy who runs Denver. I mean, dude, 3 picks.
Stacked.
I mean, dude, 2 of the guys you got in the second round, the Joker and Bol, who I think we talked before. I liked him, man, back in the day. Now, he needs to put on a lot of weight before he becomes – because he can't go down low.
Last night.
Yeah, he has to. And he has to get bodied. But, dude, I mean, how much back when his dad played, and nobody really knows what his dad's age was. Some people thought he was 50 when he was playing.
Doctored birth certificates coming from a foreign country. There wasn't, he was the Danny Amendola of his day of like, I don't know. It's like Thom McCurr. He might be 3 or 4 years older than what he is because you can't track down his actual birth certificate.
See, but here's the thing. Bol is the future of the NBA, just thicker. Like 7'5" guys with range, handles. Like, I love that. I can't wait to see that. But
dude, there's some international kid. He's like 16 or something. And everybody is saying, look, if you thought Luka was great, this kid has all the makings of being even better. He's Kevin Durant mixed with Kristaps Porzingis. And you're like, fucking Christ.
I love it, dude. I love it.
So do I.
Just new. I mean, like, I want to get into my opinions of what next season's going to be for the NBA because I think they are in trouble in rating wise. I think the games are the best. I think rating wise, we're going to see a bottoming out. I think these playoffs are going to be huge ratings because people are just starving, dude. Starving for something.
And the atmosphere is collegiate down there with it's just the teams and the coaching staffs, and you can see them celebrating at all times. The virtual fans kind of works.
D3 games, right? Nobody's had a D3 game.
Yeah. But still, it's like old school summer league when you could walk between the gyms and there's only 20 people in there. It was great. You could hear all the squeaking of the sneakers and everybody barking at each other. I actually wish they'd use less crowd noise and less announcers so we could hear more of that stuff, but that's never going to happen because they want to create an atmosphere for the players and for the people watching at home. But it's awesome. And so far, like that opening night rating with Clippers and Lakers was double anything that's happened all season long. I mean, people
are desperate for this. And I just think it makes it a lot more interesting, dude. I think I think young teams, this plays for them too as well, because like, dude, let's say you're a young team and you're in the playoffs and you're going into, the Staples Center.
Oh yeah.
With LeBron James and that crowd screaming at you the whole time. Like, I could get you. That's not there anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest, problems for the Clippers this year was even when you're playing the Lakers in a quote unquote home game, it's a home game for the Lakers. There's going to be more Laker fans even at one of your games. And now this year, they don't have to deal with that. Just like Philly is atrocious on the road. So with the fact that they're going to be in Orlando, does that help or hurt them? Because at home, they're one of the greatest teams, but they can't win on the road. And this year, I don't know, you're technically at home or on the road at all times. Although with Simmons now, with that subluxation of the patella, who knows how long he's going to be out. But it's a whole bunch of question marks.
What do you do with that Philly team, dude? I don't
know.
I think you get out of Joel Embiid as soon as you can, if you can get the right package for him.
The thing is, man, if he could stay healthy and come on, did his diet right and all that shit, he could be the best player in the league. He could be, but
I'm with you, but you already got the cash. You got the loot. So what are you going to do? I mean, like, it's like, that's why people like LeBron James. Yes, I'm going to give him a compliment. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. That's why they're so rare. That to me is the difference between an all-star and a franchise player, is the murder vibe. And now in high-pack games, we could discuss where LeBron James has kind of disappeared in the past, way back in the past. But like, to be this good this late and just still have to drive to win is so rare when the dude's made probably in his life $1 billion. But that doesn't always happen, man.
Well, now he's looking at the long-term future of look at Jordan. Jordan is a true billionaire because he was a winner and he invested and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of that came from because he was a 6-time champion, just this undefeatable individual. If LeBron can cement that kind of legacy, he's going to set up, generations of his family off of this one life.
He's already set up generations of his family. I mean, dude, like he signed like $1 billion contract with Nike. LeBron James's problem is that it's like typical with almost anybody. It's like you think you're blessed to be amazing at one thing. You think that applies to everything. And LeBron James, and I have this joke. It's a tweet actually, but that the whole coronavirus was simply done by the NBA and Nike to not release Space Jams 2 because it's so bad, right? And it's just like his shows aren't good.
You might want to delete that tweet.
No, that tweet's great. got a lot of likes before they took away my Twitter. People were talking.
What happened there? What happened?
What do you mean what happened? That's what I
tagged
do.
Ronan Sam Tripoli, and I was like, what happened to the one that I'm accustomed to?
Yeah.
You got blackballed off Twitter?
Sam Tripoli is gone. It's gone.
So do you use Ronan Sam Tripoli? I tagged you in that.
Well, that is, I'm in jail right now. I'm in a 7-day jail on that. So now it's Buddha Sammy right now. So, I mean, that's my backup.
Well, yeah, but then you got what? Sam Tripoli live as well.
Nope, that's not me. That's somebody else.
Oh, that's not you?
Nope, that's somebody else.
Son of a bitch, man. Son of a bitch. So Buddha Sam is what people should be.
Buddha Sammy.
Buddha Sammy. I apologize.
It's supposed to be Sammy Buddha, but I don't know what happened. I didn't pay attention. But yeah, that's it. But back to basketball.
You didn't pay attention when you were typing it in? What do you mean?
Dude, I am multitasking right now. I'm trying to
remember
what we're talking about. I got kids going. I got to go, what else do I got to do today? I just multitask. But back to basketball, I think the Portland Trailblazers can be a problem.
Everybody was saying that coming into, like, Charles Barkley and a few other talking heads were saying, that's my pick. And now that you're watching, we're like, you know what? They're at full complement. And with Gary Trent Jr. basically shooting 75% from three, it just frees up Melo, McCollum, and Dame to shoot from wherever they want to, because if ever they have to press, then it just opens up Nurk on the inside, just dump to him. Nobody can really stop him. And they look lethal. They could easily jump to the 8th right now. I think they're only a half game back of Memphis.
So they're going to get it. And they're going to be a problem for the Lakers because they match up the Lakers to the Lakers' strength, which is big guys. They have tons of big guys to match, and we could have an argument on, who is better. Anthony Davis obviously is the second best player on the floor, but Dame Lillard has gone farther in playoffs than Anthony Davis when they led their individual teams. Now, Anthony Davis obviously has LeBron James, who has allowed that guy to kind of take over stat-wise and just be the kind of the driving force to keep it going. But I think that Portland team's full of a lot of nasty, dude. Got chips on the shoulders. And Carmelo Anthony finally finds what I think is his rightful role, which is third guy. I mean,
is catch and shoot. Just he's now buried 2 game-winning threes, or at least game-sealing threes, since he's been down there. This is exactly what everybody was hoping post-Olympics, when it's just like you need to slow down in your career and, in essence, be a spot up, but be the third option. And You're right. Like the top end talent of the Lakers beats Portland. But then after that, I pretty much like everything else Portland has over the Lakers. Like
Yep.
take off Dame and CJ if you want to say those are the two best players. I like Melo better than anything I think that the Lakers have. Or at this point, Gary Trent Jr., Nurkic, Zach Collins. It's just like they've got a deep, young, hungry team.
I mean, the Lakers have done way better than I thought. Now, granted, they have 2 of the top 5, 2 of the top 10 players in the league, for sure. But the rest of that team, it doesn't do anything for me. But they've done very well. And this pandemic helped the Lakers a lot because they didn't have to put on heavy minutes towards the end of the season when they logged all those minutes early to get that big kind of cushion.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron needs to round into season shape like he normally is. He's still slow, but he's also 35, having played more minutes than anybody else.
And he's dude.
My biggest fear with them is they look like they're going to need to rely on either Dion Waiters or JR. Dion is getting the nod right now just because he's a little bit better a ball handler. And that, if I was a Lakers fan, that'd scare the living shit out of me. In no way do I want Dion Waiters to have any real moments. And they have to. Danny Green can't hit a 3 for the life of him. So much so that after every game, he is trending now on Twitter with 15 to 20,000 tweets, just slamming him for the fact that he can't make a shot. And then you're relying on KCP or Caruso, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard. It's a question mark.
I like Dwight Howard in his role. I'm fine with that. If the Clippers could get him as a backup center, he's great, dude. He's great. He'll get a contract next year. He'll get a contract next year. He didn't really cause any problems. He said something about the virus, which I'll get into all that later in terms of like the NBA's real problem right now. The NBA's got a real problem.
Which is what?
Okay, this is my opinion, brother. In an era of awful commissioners, Adam Silver is one of the worst. And I'm telling you that right now.
Bucking the trend on this.
Yeah.
Go.
He is
why is
worst?
Why? Because as by my estimation and most others, find me another commissioner that could have pulled off this bubble.
No, well,
look at baseball.
Listen,
they're just like, fuck
dude,
it. We're just.
It's because of the sport itself allows the bubble to happen. Every other sport has this giant area they have to play in. It's a lot harder to pull a bubble off when you have a football stadium with 1 billion players or a baseball stadium. It's impossible, dude. He has the luxury of it. Now, pulling it off is great. No, I'm not saying he hasn't done anything well. The Don Sterling thing was a layup. Good for you. He has allowed politics to go so hard in the paint in the NBA, it is turning people off. And I'm telling you, the ratings are going to bottom out next year. I'm telling you this right now. The ratings are going to bomb. The Black Lives Matter thing, I'm not for black people. Read Black Lives Matter's mission statement and tell me if that's a pro anything American, okay? That's garbage. Their hypocrisy on China is awful, dude.
That is.
And it's going to bite them in the ass because that's only going to get worse, dude. And listen to me. I do a political podcast, okay? I get certain numbers because it's not for everybody, but I openly know that. That's not the NBA. The NBA.
Mass market product.
And it's, listen. Kyrie wants to believe in flat earth. Fucking Dwight Howard wants to believe the vaccine's this. You want to believe Black Lives Matter? I'm fine with that. On the court, I don't want to hear it. I just play. I know that sounds like just dribble the ball, stupid. That's not what I'm saying, man. This is meant to be an escape. That is all sports has always been, is an escape.
Yes, you are correct, but the players wouldn't have shown up had they not gotten these concessions of the Black Lives Matter on the court.
Doesn't matter, dude.
On the jerseys.
Well, they're going to learn something real quick, brother, and that is if people aren't buying tickets, I don't care how well you dribble the ball, you're not going to – and they'll get it when the fucking salary cap shrinks because the numbers are down. ESPN is going to bottom out on their ratings. They're just going to bottom out. They
Time
just
will
can't
tell.
help it. No, okay, dude. Whatever you want to do. I'm telling you, they were bottoming out this year. This fucking virus bailed them out.
Yes, but at the same time, all ratings are down across the board because there's so many more streaming options and whatnot. So everybody's competing for eyeballs at all times. Sports is one of the few that advertisers are still willing to go with because they get live eyeballs.
Fine. NFL's doing fine.
Okay.
Baseball does fine. It's just spread over.
Baseball does not do fine. Baseball is in the trash.
Baseball does fine. It's spread over a lot more games. So everyone's like, oh, I got to watch this game. The NFL has 1, 2, 3 games. Dude, the NBA has gotten too political. And this is all under Adam Silver, who doesn't have the balls to lock it down. And it's going to bottom out.
Well, I mean, we'll find out. Look, the salary cap is going to shrink. It's just inevitable. So they are going to take a hit in their pocketbooks. Had they not closed out this season, then there was a huge wash on cash. Plus, in essence, it tears up the next CBA.
They had to play 8 games to honor
to
all
guarantee
their contracts.
Yeah, to get that money in. To who is this? As she makes
Ninja.
A quick bet. This is what?
Ninja.
This is Ninja? Is that her official birth? You texted me that, and I was like, I think he's fucking with me.
No, it's Ninja. That's her middle name. I don't give out her real name because Daddy says a lot of crazy stuff, like the NBA ratings are going to tank. So I want her when she is ready to be like, my real name is this, and my dad's right. She'll have that moment. But until then,
are you going to be heartbroken when she never publicly claims you? Just
I love her, whatever she does, as long as she doesn't hurt people. I'm fine with it. So. But back to it, yeah, it's gonna. I'm telling you, man. Nike already took a giant hit, dude. Listen, man. Listen, I get called a niche comic, and at first I got offended, and then I was like, you know what? It's right, dude. I'm not Russell Peters. I'm not Gabriel Iglesias, and they're great comics. Kevin Hart, Joe Coy. Great comics. I'm just not that guy. I like to shitstorm. I like to stir up the pot. And because of that, I have a smaller audience. It's just the way it is. And I can't get mad at that because when you say something that people don't agree with over and over again, they don't want to spend their hardworking money on you. And that's what's going to happen with the NBA. The mission statement, Black Lives Matter, is disgusting. Black people, I love them. I grew up on fucking Motown. I love them. I love everybody. Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization. That's not crazy conspiracy guy. That is straight up in their mission statement on their websites. And people just don't want to spend their money on that.
Or they just don't want to spend the time to actually read their mission statement, which I haven't done.
I have.
I have not. I think if the players are pushing for it, I was fine with it because in essence, it's their and our league. We help fund it, but without them, there is no league. So
right, but without us, there is no salary cap. And that's my whole thing. It's like, dude, business. Like, imagine if Nike did. Nike got political. People, I won't buy Nike shit anymore. I won't buy it. Their stance on China is disgusting. Because now I'm trying to get New Balance now because supposedly they're the only ones that, are made in America. So that's kind of where I'm at.
And all those, all I've heard is the Kawhi New Balance are some of the best basketball sneakers of the past 5 years. So if you can get your hands on those, which are difficult to do because whatever reason, yes, they keep promoting and then they do limited runs and last I checked, I checked for a while and I was like, because I needed a new pair of sneakers and I was like, dude, I'm out. I ended up opting for the Harden 4s because they fit my foot. Is this still Ninja or is this?
Yes.
Okay.
She is a podcast veteran.
Her eyes light up every time. Every time it goes right past the screen, her eyes go.
Sister Ghost here. Watch her sister Ghost. She just stares into the camera and starts talking because she's watched her dad do it forever. But back to NBA, I'm excited. I think the NBA should be just destroying on all cylinders, and it just gets like ESPN can't do enough focusing on the slogans on the back of their jerseys, but the games are great. I know we think the Bucks are going to win, but they haven't looked that great. And we think the Lakers and Clippers are going to be there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get knocked off.
Well, the Clippers in that 2 seed, I like their road to the finals better than I do the Lakers because the Lakers are going to have to beat more than likely Portland. And then after Portland, either probably Houston. And that's a tougher road than you got the Mavs in the first round, but I think right now Portland would be a much more difficult task. And then after that, it'd be Denver, OKC. And because of Houston's 3-point shooting and wide variance, when they are going to shoot 55 a night, they make 22 of those. It's going to be tough to stay in. Even against Portland, which they got crushed on the boards. It was like 64-39 on the boards, utterly destroyed. And they were in that game because they hit 7 more threes. And that's the only reason they were in it, even though percentage-wise, they were down on field goal percentage, 3-point shooting, although their free throws are always good because Harden can get to the line pretty much guaranteed 10 times a night. All right, but
in the playoffs, that's his problem. He doesn't get those calls. When you're going up against equally as popular players as like Kawhi or LeBron, you're not going to get all those calls all the time. Hold on 1 second, dude. Can you hold on 1 second?
Yeah, I can, go on my own for a second. It's not a problem. Yeah, I don't know, man. If Portland makes it in, that matchup against the Lakers in round 1 is just going to be more than likely an all-timer. For an opening round matchup, that 8, if they were healthy all season, there's no way they end up at 8. They're in the middle of the pack with everyone else hunting for those top seeds, but they're in the same zone as Denver and OKC and whatever else. So that opening round matchup for the Lakers is brutal. In the East, though, I genuinely don't know who's going to win.
Toronto looks real good, dude.
I love the fact that they went early because they couldn't get players back into Toronto because they would have to quarantine for 2 weeks to turn around and then come back and quarantine in the U.S. So everybody just went to Florida Gulf Coast. So they had a mini camp before their regular, camp to start in. So they're even more primed, and they've got a deep team. They're relatively young. They have championship experience, and it's next man up. Whoever is out of the lineup doesn't matter. They get dudes that are off the salvage heap from the G League, and they play like freaking borderline all-stars whenever they need them to. I mean, Norman Powell
Siakam is amazing, right? I mean, like this is the NBA's wet dream with the G League. A guy comes out of G League and makes starter for the All-Star game. Like, that's a dream. I'm so happy for him.
Most improved too. He could legitimately win most improved again, plus all NBA. I don't think he'll win most improved. They'll move on to somebody else. But to make the leap that he did, that's my only question with Toronto is, in a best of 7, when a defense can key on your best player, can you still get a bucket when it matters? And we haven't seen him be asked to do that yet. If he delivers on that, Toronto's a problem for anybody.
I think just balance, and I think we're sleeping on Nick what's his name? Nick
Nurse.
Nick Nurse, man. I think dude,
that you're so racist to white people, you son of a bitch. We don't all look alike.
You look like the one coach for sure. That was the best picture, dude. That was the best picture. But I think he's an amazing coach, man. And I think he's one of the best. Underrated. And I mean, everybody thought because he got Kawhi, that's why he went so far. And
dude, when you watch them
competing,
they'll roll out a zone defense, and right when the other team's offense starts to figure it out, boom, they switch over to a man. And then once they get acclimated to man, they switch to a different zone. Then they'll press on occasion. And there's just so many young guys that they run out and they double,
great,
and then
dude.
they pull off. I mean, it is so impressive to watch on defense. And I love the attitude. You see Lowry jawing at Aaron Gordon, because he fouled Aaron Gordon. He took him down hard, but he immediately said that was my foul. And Aaron Gordon called him a pussy as he was walking off. And Lowry goes, "My room's 826. Come find me. My room is 826. And you're like, Kyle Lowry, look at you. After all these years, the Phillies coming out.
And most of those dudes haven't been in a fight. They've always been the biggest guy. Nobody's ever. You remember when Shaq threw a punch? You remember that? Or remember before Kobe started taking boxing lessons, when he throw punches? They never throw punches because they've always been the biggest dude in the gym. Nobody's ever messed with them.
Exactly. No one ever stepped to him. There's no point. You're about to get your ass handed to you. Well, and then the NBA has held me back, as Jalen Rose pointed out a long time ago. It's fake fighting at this point. 30 years ago, yes, they actually fought. Go watch the Rudy Tomjanovich get laid out and he could taste his spinal fluid. I mean, that's a sucker punch, but still, the NBA used to be a completely different animal when it came to that stuff. Now it's a lot of posturing, and no fight ever really breaks out. But I still love the bravado from Lowry and be like, listen, we're staying in the same hotel. Here's my room. Come find me, asshole.
Gordon's got pissed, got screwed on the dunk contest. I mean,
oh yeah.
Do you listen to Scottie Pippen's ass? Well, he had to bend down a little bit. If the guy's 7'8" and you're jumping over him.
Well, it's because Dwayne Wade talked him into, hey, let's finagle the score so we get an extra round, and then he changed his score last second, thereby giving his Heat brother the W. Is this Ghost or is this Ninja?
This is Ghost, and she's 6 months old, and she's already standing. Dude, she's got muscles, dude. I'm telling you, man, you're looking at the future, like either WNBA, tennis, or soccer player, dude. I'm telling you, man, she's already ripped.
How many Armenian WNBA and soccer players are there? Tennis, perhaps. I don't know. But Armenian NBA players?
Armenian lesbians date WNBA players like the way the Kardashians do?
I would hope so. You know what I mean?
So too.
Secure that future. But you would know better than I do as to whether or not.
Why would I know better than you do?
Well, because you know the history of the Armenian people better than I.
I really do. I really do. Don't ever forget.
I don't. Although I did have Armenian food 4 nights ago.
How was it?
It was pretty good. The lamb chops were the best. The chicken was just okay.
Yeah. It was just you got chicken kebab and you're saying Armenian chicken kebab was just okay?
Yeah, it was. Well, I ordered breast. They gave me thigh, and the thighs were about 90% fat. And I was like, well, is it tasty? But I'm not getting any meat on this. So I appreciate that.
To them, I own a restaurant, just so you know. I am a little judgy.
I own a restaurant?
Don't you and your wife own a restaurant? Pizza place.
Oh,
right?
Well, your mic cut out, so it sounded like you said I own a restaurant, like that was a specific ownership or something. Yeah, she's got a pizza. Look, ownership is a strong verb to use for me, or descriptor rather for me.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I am part owner in a professional sports league. True story. I own shares in the new A7. It's no helmet, no pads, a professional football league. I own stock in it. I am one of the earlier investors. So, yeah, I do know it's like to own stuff, a professional league.
Do they have contracts that just basically stipulate that any medical problem that happens on this field, we are not liable? Is that part of the overall CBA that you have with your employees?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it, but just let's say no pads, no helmet. Ooh, no pads, no helmet.
No medical.
Well, there's this thought that they're not going to launch on each other.
Yeah.
So, because there's this false sense of a safety with a helmet on. These guys just launched. These guys aren't launching.
Yes. While true, I just it opens up. How many teams are in this league? I can't hear you. Your mic is cut off.
Like 7 or 8.
And where is it based?
Don't worry about it.
It's just luchador football. It's underground football. You can only find. We do cockfights on Tuesdays and football on Wednesdays.
Shut up. Okay. They call themselves the UFC of the NFL.
They can call themselves whatever the fuck.
Hey, dude.
Like. I realize I'm insulting an owner of one of the teams. Does that mean you can get me some luxury box seats to one of the games?
Dude, you can sit somewhere on the lawn too.
What does that mean? Does that mean a padded folded chair?
This is it. AZFL, no contact. Boom. There we go.
How do you not know, as part owner, the name of the league of which you are participating?
Dude, I'm just a figurehead that they use to dude, I'm on the show to promote my new league. Okay. So that's kind of where we're at with that, dude. So I don't worry about those details,
Yeah, well, look, you let the money work for you. You don't work for that money.
Dude.
Not a problem.
Dude, you could become a player. You want to be a player, dude?
Dude, I'm 41. No, I do not want to become a player.
I can hook you up. You want to be a coach, bro?
Yeah.
Look,
I already look like a couple coaches.
Yeah,
especially according, I might be able to just slip in and no one notices.
Oh man, where are the games? Oh yeah, we got some games going on. Oh, there's 4 teams. I forgot to tell you.
Oh, looks like a little retraction from 8 teams down to 4. That sucks. Growth wasn't what we thought it was going to be in 2020.
It's a little rough right now. It's a little rough with this pandemic, but we're doing fine. We're doing fine. But back to basketball, I think we're looking at a wonderful. I'm enjoying this. Right. I think it's.
So you think what right now you would make the choice that the Raptors are potentially the favorite to make it out of the East? Because the Bucks, it sounds like you have the same problem with the Bucks that I do, which is late in game, man. They need somebody that consistently can hit a bucket, so it frees up Giannis to do the things that Giannis does that he gets away with in the other 3.5 quarters in the game. So if Middleton is only going to hit 35% or so of his threes, he needs to get that up to 42 to 44 late in game, and then they'll be an absolute killer. I mean, George Hill has been the best, I believe, statistical three-point shooter this season. But will that translate in the playoffs? No idea. And then the rest of it, we
know he can't hit a foul shot when he needs to, and poor J.R. Smith's career took a beating for it.
Yeah, I know. No one remembers George Hill missing that free throw, and everybody, it's easier to focus on the J.R. Smith. But like that game they lost to the Nets, that was their second unit, which granted they ran out Mason and Marvin Williams, who just joined their team as part of that closing 5-man lineup with Ersan Ilyasova and Dante DiVincenzo, and I'm blanking on who the 5th out there was. But those guys have championship aspirations. They should be able to take on a G League team, in essence, a glorified G League team, and close out the game, and they couldn't do it. And does that actually bode for the playoffs themselves? Is that, prognostication for
they
the
need more shooters. I don't think Eric Bledsoe is the guy. He's a good guy off the bench. We had him as a Clipper. I know it was many years ago. I don't know if he's the guy. I think Chris Paul would be someone that would be really good in that situation because you already have a guy who is the established alpha. That's the biggest thing with Chris Paul. He can't, he did really well in in Oklahoma because nobody thought there was going to be anything happening. So he kind of
who's going to fight for his supremacy of the team? There's nobody there that's going to out alpha Chris Paul. The problem with him going to Milwaukee is what do they have in return that can match his salary? You're going to have to take Lopez and miscellaneous parts plus draft picks for days. Is that enough for OKC?
If I was OKC, the more draft picks, the better. They already have 1,000.
I know, but at some point, you could have too many draft picks. Look at the Celtics. Every year for like the past 3-4 years, they've had somewhere between 3 and 5 draft picks. And yes, it's worked out with Tatum and Brown, but at the same time, it did not become the haul for Anthony Davis that they were hoping for, or the pie in the sky that they tried to sell themselves on in other regards. So yes, it's great to have draft picks, but doesn't guarantee you, a championship. Doesn't even get you close unless you do.
I'm with you, dude. I mean, it could be interesting. I think Joel Embiid is up for grabs. That's my opinion. I think he's up for grabs.
Brett Brown is fired more than likely after the season.
He should have been fired way before.
The players like him. That's the reason he got to stay. But I love it. They're in the exact same position that they were before they got Butler. Is we need another ball handler who can get a bucket when we need it, and a playmaker in essence. It's like you still have that problem when you're out there. It's like if Tobias Harris can't get me a shot, then more than likely Joel's going to stray too far out of the paint, or we're going to be relying on Shake Milton to get us something because, it's not going to come from Simmons, even though he's shooting and hitting threes now. I don't know if that's going to be consistent. And with that subluxation of basically his kneecap, he could be out a week. He could be out 2 months. I haven't heard a definitive one way or the other. It doesn't sound like that awful an injury. He didn't have any swelling in the MRI and whatnot, came back negative, but Philly's a big fat question mark. Al Horford has not worked with them. I thought that was going to be a good fit. Hadn't worked.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why it didn't work either.
I don't know. It's when you throw him out there with Simmons and Embiid, you would think with that kind of monstrous height, they would be a juggernaut, and the offense just slows to a crawl.
And he can shoot threes too. He can shoot threes. I just don't. Ben Simmons not being able to shoot is a problem. Is a real problem.
Well, I mean,
can you hear Baby Zilla in the background?
Yeah, but so Sam keeps muting his mic because it's either Ghost or Ninja, and she's not happy with all this anti-Sixers talk. She is very pro Simmons, loves him, thinks he's an Australian stud, and she is not going to be a lesbian like her sister. She is all about Ben Simmons, loves him. I can't believe I'm saying this about a 6-month-old child. That's so wrong.
Can we talk about, like, what do you do with the Pelicans? What do you do with the Pelicans?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I mean, like, I love Zion so much. There's just something, my spider senses are tingling that something's just a little off with him. Just a little bit. Like he may be a mama's boy. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think I've been following him since he was a little young man. Do you see these videos of like the 7th grader swatting people shot like 50 feet in the air? I've always loved Zion, but something just seems just a little off. And I also want to be like, people get out of his way a lot. It's almost a little creepy. I'm just going to tell you, say that.
What do you mean? Like the NBA sent out a memo and said, hey, let Zion get to the bucket easy?
Dude, there's something about it. I'm just telling you, watching it just looks weird.
I think it's weird because he is a tank of a human being with the agility of a 2 guard. And I think that is what's weird. His wavering health is a concern. I don't take it for him being, a mama's boy. I think it's maybe he's tentative because now he's had to sit out. He's played 23 games so far in his opening NBA season, and they need to be looking to the future, not to this season. Just look, you're done. You're not going to make the playoffs. Even if you did, you're going to get swept more than likely playing the Lakers. So just get limited minutes out of him and get Brandon Ingram to become more and more of a juggernaut.
I like him.
Dude, he is legit. He is straight legit.
He is what we thought he was.
Yeah, him and now Booker on a legit. This is Booker's first 4-game win streak of his career. That's how bad the Suns have been there in his tenure.
Well, it's just like this is a real problem the NBA has right now in that you're either a superstar that stays around forever, or you're a super young guy because these dudes are eating so much of their salary cap that they can't keep around as many veterans as they used to. Because some guys might want to go to Europe and just make more paper to be one of those middle level guys. So it's kind of interesting. So, I mean, Booker's hasn't had any stability. I mean, Earl Watson led Suns team is the worst NBA team I've ever seen in my life.
Ooh, I don't know. The early Sixers on the Tankathon, those were like when Michael Carter-Williams won Rookie of the Year. That team was. Yeah, they had some fun players like Tony Roden.
They may not have been good, but there was organization. I mean, as much as you can say whatever, I just don't think Brett Brown is the guy to get them to the next level. Brett Brown's a guy, yeah.
Okay, we were just talking about the Suns.
Listen to me. But no. You were talking about the tanking 76ers, and that was the coach during then.
It's true.
Okay, they would say at least they're I mean, they come to play. They just don't have any talent.
Okay.
The Earl Watson led Suns. That's why he got canned so early. There was he was just basically like, who wants to go? Oh, I don't want to practice. Anybody else want to not practice? It was like watching a YMCA team. It was so bad, and that's who Booker's been on. And it's hard when you're a guy like Booker, right? Who didn't even start on his Kentucky team. That's how deep that team was with Cat. Yeah. Then go in there and now you're the man, and there's like no veterans there to like kind of put you in place.
He gets drafted late first round, and you're going to a team that doesn't have an established star, so it's a good situation for him coming in of like, if you can shoot, you got the green light to fire away. And everybody was beating him up that first year with DeAndre Ayton, being like, you could have paired Booker with Luka, and it's impossible not to look at that and go, you should have still done that. But at least DeAndre Ayton has rounded into form, unlike Marvin Bagley for the Kings.
Which is crazy, dude. He just gets hurt. I still think he's going to be fine, dude.
At this point, though, he's been so consistently in and out that it looks like he's just going to be consistently that's my fear for Zion. He can't stay on the court. So is Zion going to be in the league in 5 years? I have no idea. He's got all the eyeballs of the casual fan, and that's why the NBA wanted the Pels in this mix and why we have 22 teams down there to kind of juice it so the Pels had a better chance of making it in. Plus, their schedule to close out was ridiculously easy compared to everybody else's that had a, rivaling for this 8th spot. Now, the NBA says, we did it by the remaining schedule, and then we just lined up the teams that you had left to play who came here to the bubble. So that's fortuitous for them that it worked out that way. But
fortuitous, man, look at you with that word. Somebody told his wife he's going to say that word today, huh?
Dude, nobody ever guessed it, but I wake up every day and be like, honey, my word of the day is this, and I'm going to
say fortuitous. I'm going to say it. Look, so the guy who I'm talking to doesn't even know what it means. You watch.
You're going to mispronounce it, and then he's going to be even more lost, and that's going to be the best part. But yeah, I mean, Phoenix surging. So I think a lot of it, too, is like Mikal Bridges looks like a defensive stopper, and he's hitting threes at a good enough clip, somewhere around like 35%. But Ayton is taking threes and making them, but he's looking slowly but surely like he's going to be a foundational piece for them. And I think it's just Booker with him. And, you've got Rubio there as well, Dario Saric. Like, they've got a bunch of interesting.
I don't think Saric is going to be around. He's just a little slow, in my opinion. He's maybe off a bench guy, not a starter. But they got another draft pick coming. I think Rubio's perfect for them. Rubio can now hit a three. He's been starting to hit some threes, right?
He's got 3 or 4, like 2 different of these 4 games.
But I think he doesn't need to score.
No,
but he keeps the team honest, and he likes to pass. That's what you need on a team that has so many scores. And I think we're going to see, I think the Suns are going to look pretty nasty next year, dude. Pretty nasty.
All right. In the East then, Bucks and Toronto, do you think the Celtics have a chance?
I do. If they catch fire and get going, I think they do. I think losing Al Horford was a bad move. I think that he's a nice, stable thing, but, what can you do? You got Kemba Walker suddenly getting hurt, and, it's almost like the Celtics have some weird kind of curse at point guard, right?
It's looking like that's going to be it could be arthritis in his knee, in his left knee, and he's going to have that forever now. That's the rumors that I've heard, because the 4 months off. And
are you telling me the streets are talking?
Yeah, well, that 4 months off, and he came back and his knee was the exact same weird place it was before. It did not heal at all, which means that's more than likely just a condition that he's going to have to live with, much like Kawhi with his degenerative leg condition. Just like it's unfortunate. Yeah, the C's, I mean, Daniel Theus I like, but that's kind of tough when that's your big, in essence.
Yeah.
Because as much as the Celtics crow about the fact that he doesn't get a call, watching these games, man, he does not get a call. He gets fucking murdered, doesn't get a call, and then he lightly touches a dude, and it's a foul every time. That hometown bias, when you hear from people, more often than not, is bullshit. On that one, now having watched 3 Celtics games,
I think the refs are horrible. I mean, I think it's so hard to get excited about a game when you think the refs are going to have a say and stuff. There were Lakers, Clippers. There was a lot of bad calls that went against the Clippers. A lot of bad calls. Even Chauncey Billups, who does other things like, dude, I don't know how they're not losing their skulls right now with some of these calls. The last call at the end on Paul George, who was 3rd in MVP last season, nothing on that. And it's
did you really feel that was enough to call a foul on a game?
Yes.
Well, okay. To me, that one was like, okay, Paul, I don't think so on that one. I don't think so. Because at the same time, on the Booker one, he hit his offhand on that shot. And that's roughly, to me, the equivalent of the foul of LeBron pushing you in the air. But he didn't get called for a foul on that. So the refs are letting those last second shots kind of go unless it's egregious. Now, there have been some calls, but usually they let it go. This is, in essence, a playoff atmosphere. So those last second heroics, unless it is just flagrant, they're gonna let him play. They're gonna let him play.
And that's not good for James Harden, and that's why his game never translates to the thing. Here's to the next one. I want to talk about Russell Westbrook is probably the greatest player that will never be discussed as one of the greatest players ever. I love watching him play. I love his attitude. I love that. I mean, like he's just great. Just think, man. You know, it's like Bob Cousy is a top 50 player of all time. Like if you set Russell Westbrook back to that time, what kind of murder would happen in that league?
Yeah, true, but that's why you can't really compare.
I get that, but it's so funny, dude, because he probably won't make any all-time great list, which he totally should, because his game is insane.
For 3 to 4 years, he was my favorite player in the league. I'm not an OKC fan, but it's just if they're on, I cannot wait to watch him because he plays with an intensity that I've only seen from Kobe, and before Kobe was Jordan. He is out there to kill every competitor that he comes into contact with. And I actually enjoy watching him now on Houston, even though I don't care to watch James Harden play, but I will suffer through to watch these wide open lanes where he can just run in and rattle home a monster dunk. Because every time he comes down and he does that, he's one of the few guys where I feel like he earns it every time because he plays at just 100% intensity no matter what.
Do you someone like Al Horford would be great on that team because he shoots the three on offense, gets out of the way, and on defense, he can play down low, man.
But at this point, is Horford getting a little too long in the tooth for his contract? Because they are at win now. And that's another one where if they say they get bounced in the first round, what do? Their best asset is James Harden, but there's no way they trade him. And I don't think anybody wants Russell Westbrook currently, maybe in another year, but I don't think so right now just because you're going to have to take on a sizable contract to do it. But their best asset is James Harden. They could get a lot of takers for it, and they could just blow it up and start over and get picks galore. But I don't know what they do. If they flame out again in the playoffs, just like D'Antoni's done for sure. And then I don't know how they rejigger this team again because they have no assets. They're hamstrung on their cap. It's weird.
You know who I would like to see Russell Westbrook on? Sacramento Kings. Now, don't get me wrong. I love
him and De'Aaron?
I like De'Aaron. They need a guy that is like a franchise player, like somebody that can excite. I don't know what it is, but they haven't had that since Chris Webber. Boogie Cousins is great, but he's just not that guy. Russell Westbrook is a dude, like, I don't care where you send him. He's going to go and murder everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love like that. I love the city of Sacramento. They deserve a great team. They just can't get that player. They could have gotten Doncic, and I can't believe that. What's his face? Vlade Divac didn't get him.
I know. You're looking at it going, what are you doing? You have a relationship with him and his family. Now, the rumor is that Luka's dad and Vlade have beef, but now I've heard reports from both of them saying that's utter horseshit. So why didn't you take him? You pair him with De'Aaron Fox, and then you got Bogdanovich just to sit over there and shoot, and Buddy Hield maybe come off the bench, run the second unit as 6-man. It's just like, dude, this team is going to be able to score at will because the lanes for De'Aaron Fox, that dude is lightning quick. He's in the argument for the fastest in the league.
He's great. Dude,
I love him, and I wish he was on a team that had a true vision and direction as opposed to the Kings, and it just, I don't know, because Bagley didn't pan out, they kind of seem rudderless on some level. But Luka, De'Aaron Fox,
Bagley's going to be. Listen, dude. Here's my opinion: is these guys, when for bigs, it's really hard in the NBA, even today's NBA, because they come in against and play against what I consider to be the premium, optimum, number one genetic super freak, which is an NBA big. Like, it's just like the amount of muscle you're going up against. And even though you're a big kid, you're 6'11", you're still a kid. You're going up against like Okafor and all those guys that are just, or what's his face that was used to play on OKC, but
Serge
Ibaka, like, dude, that guy's a killer.
Oh, yeah, it's pure chiseled muscle. Like, it's on. Yes, I agree. It does take longer. Well, usually it takes longer for point guards, like the longest, because they have to basically, they're floor generals. But bigs, like, you have to acclimate to taking that kind of punishment night in, night out. You gotta put in the time in the weight room. You got to get your diet right. You need to get your conditioning up. Like, it's asking a lot of you. I don't know though.
Show me one big that came in right out of the gate and didn't get hurt. They all get hurt outside of Cat. That's about it. Everybody since then, they all get hurt, man, because they are getting their butt kicked by the biggest grown-ass men out there.
And the human body, by and large, is not meant to be that size and do this physical activity over and over and over again. I mean, it's why they get broken feet is a common one for bigs like that. It's what killed Yao
Then
Ming's
they grow
career.
into it after a while, As long as it's not your knees, you can be fine. Once your knees go, you got problems, dude.
That's even gotten better. I'd be more afraid of the foot than as a big, because that's tanked more careers than knee troubles. Just because that surgery has gotten so much better and better and better. Guys will blow out their knee and come back in 18 months, and they're just as fast as they were before.
Imagine Bo Jackson today. He could come back the following season and still be decent.
He could have had they then. What I've heard is had they gotten to the surgery quicker, because his hip turned necrotic faster. So then there was nothing to basically, they had to cut out all the dead tissue. And at that point, it wasn't going to regenerate or regrow. So he might have been saved had they gotten to it quicker, because it was like lack of blood flow from an impinged capillary or something along those lines. All right. Well, look, we're at an hour now and you got kids. And so I don't want to keep you longer than you want to.
Dude. Sorry,
dude, don't worry about it.
My apologies, dude. We're learning how to pay. We got a separate room. We got to clean out, and that's going to be the room for all the kids while I do the podcast. But this is kind of where we're doing. So my apologies, your listeners. Normally I'd be in studio with you guys screaming at Matt in agreement, which we always do. So should we make some predictions right now?
Okay. Out of the West, I think it's the Clippers.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
That team is deep. They have a genuine sense of understanding of who they are, and Doc knows how to coach a front-running team.
Is there an asterisk on this league, on this win?
No, not.
Yes.
If you manage to make it through this, it is in the East. I'd say it's either Raptors or Celtics. I like those two teams better because there's just more guys that can get me a bucket late.
How about Kawhi versus the Toronto Raptors? What a great story that'd be, huh?
And then it's a great story, but they will murder more than likely the Raptors, and that I'll feel bad about.
I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. That team is well coached, man.
They are. And they play great game.
I think Doc Rivers is overrated. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Well, between those two, I take Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse
for sure, dude.
Yeah, but Doc can do the Phil Jackson of he knows how to coach talent, like high-end talent, and that's a skill in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I have Clippers. I'm biased, but I really do feel the Clippers.
Yeah.
I think like it's so hard right now, though, dude. I mean, dude, as much as I love the NBA season, and I wouldn't want them to take any. I'm one of the guys who they could have more games. I would love it. I just love NBA basketball. It's in my bones. That's why saying all that stuff about earlier just really breaks my heart but I love it, dude. But man, do I love that every game is like you could lose this game. I don't care how good you are. There's no breaks.
This year is up for grabs. It's the first year in a long time where I don't have just a nominal, like an odds-on favorite. Like other years, it's like, oh, of course, the Warriors and the Cavs are going to make it out of their respective conferences, or you can just who it's going to be. And this year, it's like, I don't know. You could sell me a lot of different realities, and all of them could end up, all of these are plausible. So, who do you like out of the East? Who's your choice?
I think it's going to be. I like Toronto so far, man. Wouldn't doubt if it's the Bucks, but I think it's Toronto, dude. I think it's Toronto versus the Clippers, and I think it's gonna be a great finals. I could see Boston. I just don't think it's gonna be the Bucks. I just don't think they have enough outside shooting to rely on to open up that thing, and it's hard, dude. It's hard. And same thing with the Lakers.
To say that. It's so weird because their point differential puts them historically as one of the greatest teams in regular season history. They've just murdered teams all year. But in these close games, like that one against Houston, game 2 for them that they lost, I believe it was. I know they lost. I think it was game 2 is what I'm saying. Where late in game, they put a human wall in front of Giannis, and he kicked out to Middleton, and Middleton's a defender got up close on him, and they have to force this shitty shot. And like, that's the game. What else does?
And that's on the coach, who everybody is like, Boomhauser is like one of the greatest. Such a great. It's like, dude, you gotta change. You gotta adjust. Gotta adapt, dude. Yeah. And that's why I think, I don't know, man. And the fact that they didn't pick any shooting when there's a lot of shooters out there, dude. There's a lot. Like the NBA now is filling up with shooters. It's almost like you can't be in the NBA if you're not a shooter. You just can't be. Oh,
well, you have to develop the 3-point shot if you're going to get any kind of playing time.
Yeah. Real quick, can I say something? I think the hiring of Tom Thibodeau for the Knicks is the final straw that will get rid of the owner.
What, Dolan?
Yeah, I think he'll be gone. I think this is going to go so badly and blow up in their faces so badly that they're going to be effed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The only way he'll get bounced is if owners vote him out, and the owners are hesitant to do that because they don't want to set a precedent for themselves getting voted out.
Dude, they're setting it up, man. They're setting him up to get out because that team is horrible in the biggest market. And
it's been horrible for a long time.
Yeah, and dude, a scandal will come and they'll get rid of him, dude. They want him out.
Quite possibly. Only time will tell. I don't know if
Tom Thibodeau was an awful hiring. They should have hired the Nets guy.
Oh, Kenny Atkinson? I hope my Bulls fire Jim Boylan and pick up Kenny Atkinson.
Why won't they, dude? Everybody hates that guy.
He's the team likes him and then hates him and then likes him and then hates him, and it goes back and forth. But when you watch the games, it's like, I don't understand why this is. In Markkanen, they took the ball out of one of our, if not our best player outside of Zach LaVine, took the ball out of his hands. He had less touches and he was less of a focus in the offense overall. Just like, what am I watching? Lauri Markkanen. Boylan took the ball. Like they told him before the season started, we are going to take the ball out of your hands more. So you need to rebound so you can touch the ball and get more shots. And you're like, the dude's an excellent 3-point shooter and he opens up the spacing on the floor for everybody else. Why the fuck would we limit his touches? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I hope Kenny Atkinson goes to the Bulls because with a new front office, maybe they can get the edict from ownership to say it's time to fire Boylan, even though you guys just re-signed him to an extension. Sucks. Let's eat that money and go out and get somebody that can mold a championship winning team because it sure as shit isn't this guy.
Chicago not being good. I mean, they were talking about during the NBA All-Star game, like there just wasn't any heat in that town for it because the team has sucked for so long.
Well, no, there is. But if you heard the heat, it was fire Gar Pax, which they finally got rid of Gar Forman. But the heat was, we're sick of this. We're sick of this. You know, you're running out our best players and we just keep drafting young guys, developing them, and then getting them, out of town once they become a legitimate kind of player or a coach that's worth his shit, and we drive them away. It's annoying.
What about how do you think Derrick Rose would be on Milwaukee? I like him off the bench, dude.
Oh, dude, I was hoping at the trade deadline he would either get traded or get bought out so he could join a contender, because I would love to see him get a championship and be a legitimate six man, like coming off and just crushing second units as a former MVP. And thereby potentially get himself into the Hall of Fame, because right now he'll be the only MVP that doesn't make the Hall of Fame, the only one in the history of the league.
Yeah, he still could do it. Like, I think Joakim Noah, if he gets a ring, like with the Clippers, and has a good season, you could start seeing some talk about that as well. Because guess what? He did more than Grant Hill did.
Yeah, but Grant Hill was the face of a franchise and was anointed as the second coming. Whereas Joakim, look, won Defensive Player of the Year, came in 5th in MVP voting one year. Is he good? Yes. But I think if Ben Wallace struggles to make it in after having won 2 championships and multiple Defensive Players of the Year, I don't think Joakim Noah has a case. So,
okay, who do you think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame more? Camille Anthony, Robert Horry.
Melo.
Oh, get out of here, dude.
Dude, there is a difference from being the face of a franchise and the guy that everybody D's up versus the dude that comes off the bench and is an occasional starter that hits big shots.
Not occasionally hit big shots. 8 championships, dude. Was a big time player on 8 championships. Every team that Camille Anthony went to, except for Portland, and early on in Denver, because they had early on, and then at the end with this team, Portland, he's destroyed their chemistry.
I would say it's not so much he destroyed their chemistry. He destroyed their chances by forcing himself to get traded to the Knicks, thereby making the Knicks sacrifice every young asset and future asset that they had to send back to Denver to facilitate this trade just so he could get the Supermax extension with the team of his choice. He fucked the Knicks and himself and his legacy over because he was chasing that money. I don't think it was him or his shitty attitude, although he did run Jeremy Lin out of town because he didn't like Jeremy Lin getting the attention.
Just remember that when he came to New York, Amari Stoudemire just signed, and they were actually pretty good.
Yeah, but Amari's knees were going downhill, precipitously quick at that point.
What did you say? How quick? What?
Precipitously?
Oh, look at you. Is that the other word you said you were going to tell your wife you were going to say today?
Dude, I got a list. I'll send them to you afterwards. When I explain how you do the video up top with StreamYard, I also give you my daily list of words that I try and force into conversation.
Do you do any premium content
for this?
Like Patreon or anything like that?
I do it for another show. Yeah, I do Patreon.
I'm on this new service, and I think I might start a sports premium show on there, and I'm super happy with them. Maybe if you're looking for something else to do, generate some money, maybe we can do something, because I like yelling at you.
Hit me up, man. As long as we do it like this, because I can't be around. Like, if my wife gets sick, then she has the potential chance of getting 35 of her employees sick and shutting down the shop, and it's too much. Yeah, so I
don't mind this, dude. As a side gig, premium content, dude, I would rather do. I won't be surprised if more people stick with this, even when they come back.
Hold on. I already have one that I do a show with, and he's like, I'm pretty certain I want to stay with this going forward. Be like, all right, I can't change your mind if that's what you want to do. But I know I reached out to one friend we have in common who I've had on the show, I don't know, 10 times, and he was like, I'll only do it in person. And be like, well, then, man, I can't. You're not on this show then until we get a fucking vaccine. So I'll see you.
What a weird thing to say.
Yeah,
why would, it's just a weird. I'll only do it in person. Okay.
Yeah,
I probably know him and probably love him, but I think it's a weird.
You do, and you do, I agree that a conversation in person is way better than doing it via this. Yeah, but you don't have an option right now. There's just no point.
I couldn't agree more, dude. I couldn't agree more.
Would you want to plug anything before we get out of here? And I'll tag you as Baby Sammy.
No,
Buddha Sammy.
Okay, God, dude, respect my authority, okay?
Dude, you still get my last name wrong about 70% of the time.
That's our friendship. Hold on one second. Hold on. Let me find it for you so I can show you where it is. Here it is. Right. See. Okay. It's actually Buddha Sammy.
At Buddha Sammy. I will hit you up on this.
Yeah. Ronan Sam. Yeah. Anyways, that's good. So
Ronan, I did. Is Ronan one of yours or no?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. That is my main one that I'm in jail right now for. And then I had to start a second one because when they get rid of you, they say, do not start another account. You're like, well, I already had that account. So I already started. If you want to check out my stand-up, just go to samtripoli.com or check out youtube.com/Sam Tripoli stand-up. I have a very popular podcast called Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli. It is available everywhere you listen to podcasts, and you can watch it on YouTube. I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com / depending if you're a nerd dork. Okay. / we'll say Tinfoil Hat. And I have a brand new podcast. It's my spiritual podcast. It's called Zero with Sam Tripoli, and that's at Rockfin, ROKFIN.com/0.
Well, there you go. Hit him up. Go to at Buddha Sammy. Follow him on Twitter over there until Ronan Sam Tripoli gets unlocked, if it ever gets unlocked. But if not, there is at Buddha Sammy. Thank you for joining me today.
It was great. Sorry about the kids, man. You know, I love talking to you. Just, we're just in that age where mom's doing a great job. She gets overwhelmed. And so my apologies. Once everything's back to normal, we'll be back to rock.
Don't even sweat it.
Man, I love you. I think you're one of my favorite people to talk sports with. Sorry we can't see each other more because of this whole thing, but I look forward to seeing you and say hi to your wife, and we'll do it again soon.
All right. Well, that is it this week for Dropping Dimes. Make sure to subscribe to the feed of your choice. This is a new venture, branching out of my own, so please support me. I thoroughly appreciate that. If you love all the NBA talk and basketball content, that's what this channel is for. It's an excuse for me to watch basketball as much as humanly possible without pissing my wife off. So the more of you that watch, the more that I get to watch, and I thoroughly appreciate that. I could give two shits about any money that generates here. I really just want the excuse to watch more basketball. So follow me at Matt Nost. I live tweet during some games. I try not to do too much because I don't want to clog up people's Twitter feeds with nonstop NBA talk. But thank you so much for watching Dropping Dimes. We'll see you guys next Wednesday at noon, and adios.